There are two huge shadows that ought to be on everyone's mind, in the background at least, whatever the immediate issues are. For the first time in the history of the human species, we're facing the possibility, indeed the likelihood of destroying the possibilities for decent human life. One of these shadows has been there since 1945. It's nuclear war, and it's kind of a miracle. It's never happened. There's another one which we don't know what can be done about it, or if anything can be done, and that's environmental crisis. The groups that are in the forefront of trying to do something about it are the what we call the uncivilized societies, the Aboriginal societies, First Nations, tribal societies. They're way in front. I remember one of my earliest childhood memories is riding in a trolley car with my mother somewhere, and we passed a textile plant where there were women on strike outside and police brutally beating them, which was standard. U.S. has a very violent labor history. I mean, workers being murdered on the job into the late 30s. And it's all of these are childhood memories, and also just discussions about everything. You know, a lot of these, my own family, uncles, aunts, and so on, many of them barely went to school, a couple of years of elementary school, but it was a very educated population, and incidentally, that's traditional. If you go back to the British and American working classes in the 19th century, they were self-educated, but highly educated. Take the main issue on the front pages every day now, what to do about the deficit.
Sure.
Okay, just drove in this morning, listened to the liberal public radio station, NPR, big discussion about what to do. All take for granted, we just got to do something about the deficit. That's actually, the public doesn't think so. The public regards the deficit as a minor problem. They regard the main problem as joblessness. And in fact, the deficit contributes to getting jobs. It's good for jobs. You can read that in the business press. It creates demand. And business isn't investing because they don't want to bother, so only government spending can create demand. So the public thinks, yeah, let's get after the jobs. Now, they're not alone. Like, the business press agrees with them, but not policy. So right now there's a new project by, there's an organization called ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council. One of their new projects is to get states to introduce into the educational programs, children's educational programs, what they call balanced teaching about the climate. That's a code word for climate change denial. Other groups, the religious groups, try to do the same thing with creationism. You have to have balanced teaching, evolution science and creation science, and there's a whole rubric of critical thinking, and it's total nonsense. But the idea is to try to really make it a stupid country.
Right.
That's very important for business, because they want to make short-term profits. They don't care what happens 20 years from now. About 70% of the population has absolutely no influence on policy. They're disenfranchised, totally. The lowest 70% on the income wealth scale, they might as well not bother voting, and most of them don't. As you move up the wealth income scale, you get a little more influence. When you get to the very top, which is a tiny group, they essentially get what they want. That's very remote from democracy. I'm pretty conservative. Like, I was very involved with the activist groups in the 60s and since, and young kids, so I had to listen to plenty of rock music and smell funny smells, which I didn't recognize, and things. And I kind of endured it, but it wasn't part of me. Fortunately for us, my wife and I, our own kids liked to listen to Joan Baez and Joni Mitchell and so on. That was fine.
So you're okay with just influencing the music, you don't have to listen to it?
As long as I don't have to listen to it. I can listen up till about late Stravinsky, and then I kind of tail off.
Yeah, fair enough.